हमने अभी तक बहुत सारे पॉडकास्ट किए हैं यहाँ पे, बट अगर मैं बोलूँ कि अभी तक जो मेरा जो पेट टॉपिक था और जिसके लिए मुझे डेफिनेटली आई वाज पुश टू गेट समबडी ऑन बोर्ड टू डू दिस, because we do have a lot of podcasts which are all about fun, it's all about entertainment, it's all about getting some information or the other. बट जो एक चीज़ कोई बात नहीं करता है, जो लोग बोलते हैं कि थोड़ा उसका स्टिग्मा भी है कि बात करनी चाहिए कि नहीं करनी चाहिए, और अभी तक जितने भी लोग मेरे पॉडकास्ट पे हैं सबने बोला कि ये वाला टॉपिक तो कवर करना ही है. तो आई थिंक it's been so pervasive that I really wanted to cover it. So I really want to welcome our guest today, Ishita.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. So I think before we go further into as to what you do, etc. So just थोड़ा आप बताओ कि आप exactly first of all थोड़ा background दो कि आप कब आए यहाँ पे, जब आप आए start से आपने first पहले क्या किया, फिर were you always into this profession or did something motivated you to get into this profession, and how long have you been in this profession where you are today?
Sure. Yeah. Well, thank you, Pankaj, for having me. I'm really excited to be part of this. So, I Ireland around 21 years ago. I was in a different profession altogether. Although मेरी जो degree थी, bachelor's degree जो थी honors, वो psychology में था. But I went into technical field completely. So I was working with Microsoft for many years. And then I decided to change and go back to my passion, that was psychology, from the very beginning. So वहाँ से मेरे दोनों बच्चे हो गए थे, and then I thought I needed to give some time to myself, to my family. So I went back to studies. I started to study here. So I did my master's from here, from DCU, in psychotherapy. तो तब से I've been working in this field in Ireland for last 18-20 years.
Okay.
So ये, और इंडिया से of course इंडिया से different background था, फिर यहाँ पे different background हुआ, लेकिन it's been a fulfilling journey.
Yes.
So
I think it's good. I think something you had started your education with back home, and then even though you had digressed from that and gone into a different field, but फिर आपको लगा कि कि your passion was still there. I think your heart was still there.
yeah.
तो मेरे ख्याल से काफ़ी लोग इवन दो हमारा जो पॉडकास्ट है वो डिफरेंट रीज़न के लिए है, बट काफ़ी लोग जिसको बोलते हैं मेच्योर स्टूडेंट्स भी होते हैं.
Yeah.
तो वो थोड़ा सा मे बी क्विक ब्रीफ आप बताओ कि हाउ डिफिकल्ट वाज इट टू leave a well paid job and go back to full time study and be able to kind of then switch your career again?
I think it was very difficult. The decision wasn't difficult because I knew that this is what I had to do. It was my calling from the very beginning. And but for some reason in early, late 90s and 2000s, there was a big boom of IT and everything in India. So you just kind of get along with that.
Yeah.
But I think the decision to make that decision, वो मुश्किल नहीं था, लेकिन उसको execute करना मुश्किल था. क्योंकि दो बच्चे थे, एक बिल्कुल न्यूबॉर्न था 9 months का, और मेरी बेटी थी वो 5 साल की थी, और कोई सपोर्ट नहीं यहाँ पर, कोई हेल्प नहीं, एंड आई एम डूइंग माई मास्टर्स, माई थीसिस ऑल बाय माई सेल्फ. सो अनलिमिटेड स्लीपलेस नाइट्स.
Yes.
क्योंकि तुम एक mother भी हो, you're a wife as well, and then you're studying as well. So that was really, really difficult. Also, I think financially, to kind of really leave that financial independence for some time and dedicate yourself to studies was actually it was a decision that we made as a family together.
Yeah.
So it was difficult.
Yeah.
But I think, in India हम लोग ज़्यादातर उस background से आते हैं कि studies are very important, and if somebody wants to study at whatever age, we generally encourage. So I think we came from that. I come from that background where studying and educating yourself is really important.
Yeah.
So I did that, but I don't know. I think I look back and I say I don't know how I did it.
Yeah. No, I think same thing happened to me. I did my master's only 6-7 years ago, and even though it was part time with my work, and if I had to do it again, I would not do it because it can take a toll on your health, right?
It does.
And then also you have, if and especially in your case, you had done it full time, so it was not only just the uh, being like going into studies which you hadn't done probably for such a long time and being able to get into that routine. और साथ में ये भी होता है कि फाइनेंशियली यू नो व्हेन यू हैव फैमिली एंड व्हेन यू हैव किड्स टू फीड एंड दे हैव देयर ओन रिक्वायरमेंट्स, तो आदमी को काफ़ी कुछ सोचना पड़ता है. तो कुडोस टू यू कि आपने वो डिसीजन लिया.
Thank you.
आई थिंक मे बी आप थोड़ा सा बताना चाहोगे लोगों को कि जो आप सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड करते हो, आर यू लाइक वर्किंग फॉर समबडी और आर यू रनिंग योर ओन प्रैक्टिस, or is it like a hybrid model, you work and then you have your own time where you give it to patients?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a hybrid. So I work full time with HSC.
Okay.
I work with National Counseling Service of HSC, which is which is a service that is available for people who have been abused as children. So adults who have been abused as children.
Okay.
So इसका मतलब कि post traumatic stress or depression, anxiety and personality disorders and or chronic illnesses and all that. So I work with them. And I also specialize in couples and relationship. So when I am in my private work, I work with that, and I'm a domestic violence counselor as well.
Okay.
So I have these few different avatars, you can say, different
yeah.
areas of expertise. But I work very limited at home right now because my work with HSC takes a lot of my time and it's quite intense as well. बहुत ज़्यादा intense काम है. But generally जब मैं घर में काम करती हूँ तो मैं जो अपने ethnic clients हैं जैसे इंडियन या पाकिस्तानी या एशियंस, उनके साथ ज़्यादा करती हूँ बिकॉज आई फील कि उनके लिए देर इज़ नॉट मच हेल्प हियर. आई मीन आई कुड बी कम्प्लीटली रॉन्ग. आई नो दैट देर आर लॉट ऑफ इंडियन साइकाइट्रिस्ट्स एंड साउथ एशियन साइकाइट्रिस्ट, but there are no therapists, as in a counselor or a psychotherapist. So I feel that it's important for me to contribute to the community. So then when I work in my private time, I work with our community.
Yeah.
And I'm also a clinical supervisor, which means I give consultations to therapists and all. So basically it's a consultation kind of a system where as a psychotherapist, you are required by your accreditation body to have consultation with senior therapists. So those are called supervisors. So I then work as a supervisor in my private practice as well to other therapists.
To other therapists.
Yeah.
See, I think sometime we come to you कि हम आपके पास आ रहे हैं, अपनी problems लेके आ रहे हैं. हमेशा problems ही लेके आते हैं लोग. मतलब कुछ there are times जब थोड़ा लोग अपना मतलब they also tell you about good times, but predominantly it's more issues what they're facing. So as a psychotherapist or as a consultant, do you feel, I think there are limitations on the number of hours also a psychotherapist or a consultant can onboard the patients for. There are some criterias on that front?
There are no criteria defined by accreditation body, but it's always best practices that you follow. तो depend करता है. अगर तुम, if you are very new, then maybe two clients in a day would be too much for you because it's too much. Then as you progress, as you go into it, 4-5 या 6 clients, which means that 6 hours of constant working with trauma or issues and all that. So I mean, you keep like that, just keep it a balance basically. But sorry,
नहीं आपने बहुत अच्छी बात करी कि कि यहाँ पे उतने ज़्यादा साउथ एशियन लोगों के लिए या जो डिफरेंट एथनिक बैकग्राउंड्स हैं उनके लिए इतने ज़्यादा कंसल्टेंट नहीं है. lot of students who are coming here, right? They all have this expectation that the life abroad is the best life they could possibly lead. They've seen the movies, they've seen their friends posting all these nightclub photos and everything. But this problem is so, मतलब मेरे को तो ऐसे लगता है कि हर दूसरे तीसरा स्टूडेंट जो है वो आ रहा है, उसको आके यहाँ पे एकदम लोनली हो जाता है. इंडिया में 50 दोस्त हैं, यहाँ पे एक भी दोस्त नहीं है. दोस्त आप स्ट्रगल कर रहे हो क्योंकि जो स्कूल में फ्रेंड्स होते हैं वो फ्रेंडशिप आपको कभी मिलती नहीं है, बिकॉज दैट फ्रेंडशिप वाज नॉट ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ हु यू आर. इट्स अ रियल फ्रेंडशिप. यहाँ पे तो हु इज डूइंग व्हाट एंड देन द फ्रेंडशिप समटाइम एमिनेट्स फ्रॉम दैट. तो आपको मतलब have you had any experience जहाँ पे students specifically ये problem बहुत ज़्यादा face कर रहे हैं, और have you had to deal with any of them, and why do you think it's happening?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I work with a lot of Indian students, and, and the main problem that they face is, isolation. क्योंकि हमारा जो कल्चर है, जहाँ से हम लोग आते हैं, हमारे एज यू सेड फ्रेंड्स हैं, सब हैं, बट फैमिली में कितने लोग होते हैं, एक्सटेंडेड फैमिली, इवन इफ यू आर नॉट इन लिविंग इन अ जॉइंट फैमिली, आर मासी, चाचा, ताई, ऑल आर अराउंड अस, तो हम लोग कभी कहीं चले जाते हैं, कभी कहीं चले जाते हैं, और यहाँ पर आके वो सपोर्ट सिस्टम पूरा ख़त्म हो जाता है. यू हैव नो सपोर्ट सिस्टम व्हाटसोएवर, एंड नाउ यू आर अलोन. ऑल्सो मिंगलिंग विद द न्यू क्राउड, न्यू पीपल, न्यू कल्चर, दैट इज़ डिफ़िकल्ट, बिकॉज जब तक तुम आते हो एक डिफरेंट कल्चर में, तुम्हें टाइम लगता है उसको समझने में, उसके न्यूआंसेस समझने में टाइम लगता है, उसमें जो उसका बेसिक जो डे टू डे की हाउ टू कैन लिव, हाउ टू एडजस्ट, what does lingo, जैसे language, everything. So that transition period generally between is, there's a lot of research being done on that also. So the transition period is between 8 months to literally 2 years, जो बहुत डिफ़िकल्ट होते हैं लोगों के लिए. जो फर्स्ट 2 years होते हैं वो बहुत डिफ़िकल्ट होते हैं, बिकॉज उसमें तुम एडजस्ट करने की कोशिश कर रहे हो, समझने की कोशिश कर रहे हो, और जो सपोर्ट सिस्टम नहीं है बिल्कुल भी, जो हम इतना फॉर ग्रांटेड ले लेते हैं. व्हेन वी आर बैक होम, हम इतना फॉर ग्रांटेड ले लेते हैं. और बच्चे, बिकॉज वो अभी निकल के आए हैं, यंग स्टूडेंट, दे हैव जस्ट कम आउट ऑफ इट, दे डोंट हैव दोज स्किल्स, and the expectations were very different, and then you face with the reality which is completely different. तो वो उस चीज़ को एडजस्ट करने में भी टाइम लगता है बच्चों को, और अच्छी बात ये है कि बहुत लोगों को मैं देखती हूँ, बहुत जो यंग स्टूडेंट्स आते हैं, कि उनको अब थोड़ा कंसेप्ट है थेरेपी का, वो समझते हैं, और वो कुछ करना चाहते हैं उसके बारे में. इफ़ आई टॉक अबाउट इट, इफ लेट्स इफ आई गो बैक 10 years ago, 20 years ago, that didn't really happen, that never happened. But it's really nice to see now there are a lot of young students who
there's more awareness.
There's so much more awareness. They know that there's something can be done about it, rather than suffering on their own. Taboo है भी और नहीं भी है एक तरह से, तो वो खुल रहा है, which is good. That's a change that I've seen, and I'm really glad about that change, and I hope that there's more and more people understand that.
And that was the whole reason why I mentioned about my own journey, just because I don't think you should be afraid of calling out a problem if you're having one. Like it's like any ailment. अगर आपको कैंसर है, अगर आपने बोल दिया आपको कैंसर है, तो मतलब there's nothing wrong with it. Like this is not something you had invited personally. तो अगर आपको डिप्रेशन भी है, और अगर आप the more people will speak about it, the more easy for somebody else to seek help.
You're spot on. But mental health के साथ क्या होता है कि अगर आपको फिजिकल कोई इलनेस है तो आपकी बॉडी पे दिख जाती है, और मेंटल आप बहुत देर के बाद उसका दिखाई दे, क्योंकि यू ट्राई एंड कोप एंड ऑल, और फिर बिकॉज इट्स टू डू विद माइंड, पीपल थिंक, जैसे जनरली बोलते ज़्यादातर एथनिक, और इवन यहाँ पर भी पहले ऐसे ही होता था कि देयर समथिंग रॉन्ग विद द माइंड. सो द योर इंटायर बीइंग इज चैलेंज्ड इन दैट, कि तुम ठीक हो कि नहीं हो, तुम फंक्शन ठीक से कर सकते नहीं हो, तुम्हारा दिमाग ठीक से काम, क्योंकि on a day-to-day life we don't really pay that much of attention to our mind, but really हम एक इंसान को कैसे जज करते हैं, हम जब एक दूसरे से मिलते हैं तो वो माइंड, वो हम it's all about mind basically.
कभी कभी आपको ऐसा भी होता है कि आपको ये भी होता है कि अगर आप किसी को बताओगे तो वो आपके साथ सिंपैथी देगा, कभी कभी पिटी होगा, तो मेरे ख्याल से हमारे माइंड में काफ़ी कुछ चल रहा होता है कि बताएं, सामने वाला परसीव कैसे करेगा, वो कभी दोबारा मुझे मिलेगा नहीं मिलेगा, बिकॉज आई एम नॉट केपेबल इनफ और मेंटली नॉट स्टेबल.
सो ये एक बहुत अच्छी बात आपने अभी उठाई है, जो आपने बोला कि अगर हम बोलेंगे तो दूसरा क्या सोचेगा, सिंपैथी देगा, पिटी करेगा. तो वो जो है आइडिया कि हम वनरेबल नहीं बनना चाहते किसी के सामने, मतलब वनरेबल का मतलब हमारे लिए होता है वीक, बट एज अ मेंटल हेल्थ प्रोफेशनल आई वुड से that being vulnerable is the most bravest thing that you can do.
That's
it's
a very good point.
Being so, what could be more braver than being vulnerable? That you're accepting that I need help. That's the most scariest thing, and you've done that. So you're brave.
True.
So, but ये concept जो अगर समझ आ जाएगा तो it's much easier for us to accept you know that we are going through some kind of a you know situation where we need help.
Yeah. अगर आप बताओगे ही नहीं किसी को मुझे प्रॉब्लम है तो कोई हेल्प कैसे सकता है.
Exactly.
जैसे हम इंडिया में बोलते हैं कि इफ आई एम हैविंग, अगर मुझे बुखार हो रहा है, हम वी टेक अ एग्जांपल कि बुखार हो गया, कोई बोलेगा कि टेक अ गार्गल विद द हॉट वाटर, और समबडी वुड से टेक अ पैरासीटामोल. सो देन only you will you're inviting help from other people and they're giving you advice. But if you are not telling people what you're going through, how the help is going to come to you?
Exactly. And people don't want to ask for help as well.
Yeah.
वो भी वो साइन समझते हैं vulnerable weakness का. कि हम लोग ये सोचते हैं कि हमें सब कुछ हम खुद को करना चाहिए. We should be capable of doing everything ourselves.
Yeah.
That we should not ask for help, because if we ask for help, which means I'm not capable enough.
Yes.
Whereas we all have to understand that as human beings, we all have our limitations.
Yeah.
तुम्हारे में आप में कुछ ऐसी चीज़ होगी जो आप में की स्ट्रेंथ होगी, और मेरे में कुछ ऐसी चीज़ होगी जो मेरी स्ट्रेंथ होगी. लेकिन अगर हम सब कुछ अपने ऊपर ले लेंगे तो एक लेवल ऐसा आएगा कि माइंड जो है वो बिल्कुल फुल हो जाएगा. तो आई मीन आई ऑलवेज गिव एन एग्जांपल ऑफ दिस ग्लास. इफ अगर आपके ग्लास में आप फिजी ड्रिंक डालो और वो भरती जाए और फिज इतनी हो जाए कि वो ऊपर तक बिल्कुल निकलने लगे, ओवरफ्लो हो जाए, देयर इज नो मोर प्लेस टू पुट मोर इन इट. You have to let the fizz settle down, which means you have to accept that there are limitations to what you can do. Now that doesn't mean that you don't try and excel yourself in things or improve yourself in things.
Yeah.
Not even excel, improve. But in that also, an athlete has they know their limitations and they work with that, and that's what makes them better at what they do.
Yeah. I think एक सेल्फ क्रिटिसिज्म जो होता है वो जो सबसे हार्मफुल है. क्योंकि आप जब अपने आप को क्रिटिसाइज बार बार कर रहे हो तो जो मेरे ख्याल से एक टर्म है सेल्फ फुलफिलिंग प्रोफेसी. तो फिर वो ऐसा हो जाता है कि आपका, तो मेरे ख्याल से काफ़ी चीज़ें जो हेल्प करती है कि जैसे वो मे बी आप ज़्यादा बताओगे जैसे एफर्मेशन वगैरह, बट हम उसके बारे में बात करेंगे. तो एनीवे आई थिंक व्हेन आई हैड इट, I didn't know for like 3 years that even I had it, because like that is 10-12 years ago when the awareness was very little. And how I found out was I was on the red light, वहाँ पे कोई charity मांग रहे थे वो bucket में. तो उन्होंने बोला कि डिप्रेशन या मेंटल हेल्थ के लिए वी आर आस्किंग. आई से व्हाट इज इट, लाइक व्हाट इज मेंटल हेल्थ? आई डिडंट इवन नो व्हाट मेंटल हेल्थ वाज लाइक दैट लॉन्ग अगो. तो जब उन्होंने मुझे समझाया एंड मैंने फिर आई क्वेश्चन दैट पर्सन कि अच्छा और बताओ. आई आस्क हिम टू गो ग्रैनुलर. सो जब उसने बताया एंड देन से दैट लुक्स लाइक माय सिम्पटम्स. सो समटाइम आई थिंक you can probably tell people more what are the pointers or what are the areas they should be looking at, that to say that yes, I have this problem, now I should seek help. So what are the pointers you think they should be not proactively looking out, but if they have 3 or 4 these symptoms, then you need some kind of a help?
The other symptoms would be where you are unable to get up from the bed. You are just avoiding, you're sleeping too much, or you're sleeping absolutely very little. You are binge eating or not eating at all. Self-harm, suicidal thoughts. आप जो हो वो personal hygiene is impacted. You are not able to get up and have shower. You're not brushing your teeth. तुम कपड़े नहीं change कर रहे हो. These are very severe symptoms.
Yes.
These are severe ones. Milder ones, of course, are where you could have all these 1 or 2 or 3 symptoms where you are disconnecting with others. You are feeling low, but you're still able to kind of function in some ways. And a lot of time mild depression is could be very transitionary, which means कि वो situational होता है कि अगर situation कुछ खराब हो गई है ऐसी, it's related to your personal, something's happened in your personal life. जैसे कि मैं बोलूँगी कि इवन जो हमने अभी थोड़ी देर पहले बात की स्टूडेंट्स के आने का, जो यहाँ पर आते हैं, वो मोस्ट ऑफ्टन ट्रांजिशनल होता है कि वो एक फेज से जा रहे हैं, उसके बाद जब वो निकल जाएंगे तो दे विल फील बेटर. पर उसमें भी हेल्प लेने की ज़रूरत है.
क्योंकि मेरे ख्याल से अगर आप जितना ज़्यादा इसको छोड़ दोगे, आप बोलोगे कि चलो मुझे माइल्ड सिम्टम्स भी हैं, बट आपने 1 साल तक उसको किया है, मेरे ख्याल से वो माइल्ड सिम्टम्स they can also evolve into a severe
Oh, yeah.
depression. So I think the good thing is that you actually kill the root when it start to grow rather than let it be a tree.
Yeah, but you said something very important when you were describing yourself. You said you didn't even know what was happening, that you had it. So that is the point. Even जब आपको mild symptoms होते हैं, आपको पता ही नहीं है कि आपको है भी, और कुछ फील होता है और कुछ तुम उसको अवॉइड कर देते हो, बट टिल द टाइम यू वोंट अंडरस्टैंड व्हाई यू आर फीलिंग लाइक दैट, you won't be able to address that. तो मतलब you can't, if you brush it under the carpet and say okay कुछ दिनों में ठीक हो जाएगा, ये हो जाएगा, it's better to talk to somebody, because sometimes it's okay to talk, and it's always okay to talk and say I'm feeling like this, which is something that we are not really used to. We're not never encouraged to talk about our feelings. You know, हम लोगों को again comes back to vulnerability. लेकिन generally, especially in men, young men don't talk about their feelings. You know,
They don't want to show themselves as vulnerable.
Absolutely, because it's the heaviness or that expectation of being masculine, and I'm the man and I'm the fixer and I need to do this. You know? Even at home, I'm the son of the family, and how can I not know this? You know? So that heaviness that a man carries becomes their own enemy, basically. It's their own enemy, and that's why we see that, you know, young men, the suicidal rate is the highest amongst men.
Yeah.
You know,
it's just because you're not expressing yourself enough.
You're not expressing yourself.
Yeah.
With, you know, again with women, comparatively women talk more.
Yeah.
You know, हम लोग 2-4 लोगों के साथ, फ्रेंड्स के साथ बात कर लेंगे, हल्का हो जाएगा, कुछ पर्सनल बात भी कर लेंगे, but men don't talk like that.
Yes.
You know, and even at home they don't talk like that. You know, even because उनको लगता है कि I am the you know fixer here. मैं अपनी वाइफ को बताऊंगा तो उसको वो हो जाएगा, तो मुझे उसको प्रोटेक्ट करना है, मुझे फैमिली को प्रोटेक्ट करना है, तो मैं अपने खुद ही
जितना आप उसको दबाते रहते हो वो एक दिन तो फटेगा ही फटेगा,
वो तो फटेगा, कहीं ना कहीं तो निकलेगा,
कहीं ना कहीं तो निकलेगा,
तो निकलेगा. तो इसलिए इट्स इम्पोर्टेंट टू टॉक अबाउट इट. तो अगर आपको लगता है कि आपके घर में स्कोप नहीं है बात करने के लिए, या आपके पास फ्रेंड नहीं है, तो कोई प्रोफेशनल है, हेल्पलाइंस होती हैं, बात करो. लेकिन इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू टॉक.
आई थिंक मेरे केस में मतलब again this is not about me, but I think in my case where I struggled was to find somebody who understand this problem. Like, I mean, the awareness is there right now, but 10-12 years ago I don't think people were, when you tell somebody that you are sad all the time, they were like कोई बात नहीं, हो जाएगा मूड ठीक, थोड़ी देर की बात है.
I think इंडिया में, इंडियन पॉपुलेशन में ये शिफ्ट आया है थोड़ा सा 10 साल पहले. यहाँ पे again comparatively, तो even in Ireland there's a change, but there was still awareness. But I think in Indian population
or Asian population,
to be precise, exactly. But that shift has taken place in last 10 years, where people have kind of started to understand that a little bit more. But before that, I think it's also very cultural. We come from that kind of you know, we have that legacy where we tell people कि suffering is okay, because you know again colonialism and you know all that, एक हमारे अंदर है कि suffering तो होगी ही होगी, तो उसको tolerate.
और हमें सिखाया भी जाता है कि लाइफ है तो दिक्कत तो आएंगी, उसको फेस करना सीखो, उससे भागो मत, तुम स्ट्रॉन्ग, मतलब वो अच्छी चीज़ है, ऐसा नहीं है. बट एट द सेम टाइम आई थिंक वी नेवर हैड दिस education in school where, you know, it's not taught in school that if there is a problem, speak about it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's where the shift needs to happen, right?
Brush it under the carpet.
Yes.
चुप रहो और just move on.
हाँ, move on. या आप किसी को, मुझे तो मतलब बोलना नहीं चाहिए, but I have also seen कि जहाँ पे इंडिया में लोग बोलते हैं कि यार मुझे मतलब मेरे को लग रहा है कि मेरे में कुछ प्रॉब्लम, बोलते हैं ये पागल हो गया है. तो आई थिंक जहाँ तक जो आदमी सफ़र कर रहा है, जितनी उसकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, आई थिंक एज अ सोसाइटी भी हमें एक रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी लेनी चाहिए कि हम लोगों को सुने जो ये प्रॉब्लम्स है, रादर देन उसको you know you shush them away.
I think you know there's such a contradiction in our society, in our culture, because एक जगह we have yoga, meditation, which is all about mental health. You know how amazing and how intelligent our ancestors were thousands and thousands of years ago. They put the most emphasis on mental health, and हमेशा बोलते हैं कि अगर दिमाग अच्छा रहेगा तो बॉडी अच्छी रहेगी, you know. तो हम लोगों ने, लेकिन आज की सोसाइटी में वो कॉन्ट्राडिक्शन है completely, because even though we do that, but we really don't understand that we are doing the meditation and yoga and all is about how to keep a balance between mind and body and soul. You know, the three of them work together.
Yes.
You know? So that awareness need to happen, that actually culturally we are so kind of grounded in this concept, which probably was taken away from us for many years, thousands, hundreds of years, let's say. But it's for us to understand that this is our ancestors cracked it thousands of years ago.
Yeah. I think even same मेरे ख्याल से vegan का भी है. हमारे यहाँ तो vegetarian कब से बोल रहे हैं.
Exactly.
But anyway, I think जो main है कि ठीक है, हमने symptoms discuss कर लिए. Symptoms समझ आ गए कि हाँ ठीक है, चलो मुझे mild है. अभी मैं ठीक है, मेरे को अभी प्रोफेशनल हेल्प भी सीखनी करनी है. घर में ही आप ऐसे 3-4 चीज़ें बताओ कि जो आदमी को लगे कि मुझे कहीं जाने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, मैं घर पे प्रैक्टिस करके कुछ ट्राई करता हूँ पहले.
तो सबसे पहले तो अगर आपको ऐसा लगता है तो किसी से बात करो, अपने फ्रेंड से बात करो, किसी फैमिली मेम्बर से बात करो, क्योंकि कभी कभी बात करने से प्रॉब्लम जो होती है वो सॉल्व हो जाती है. कभी कभी क्या होता है कि हम लोग एक प्रॉब्लम को अपने दिमाग में इतना बड़ा बना लेते हैं कि हम उससे ही एंग्शियस या डिप्रेस हो जाते हैं. लेकिन अगर तुम बात करते हो तो तुम्हें पता चलता है कि एक्चुअली प्रॉब्लम थी नहीं कुछ. सो इट जस्ट काइंड ऑफ फिजल्स अवे. सो दैट्स द फर्स्ट थिंग, यू शुड ऑलवेज टॉक टू समबडी, यू नो, इट्स इम्पॉर्टेंट. एंड उसके बाद फिर भी कभी वी बिकम एंग्शियस एंड वी बिकम सैड, तो सबसे है कि योगा, I think meditation, and meditation doesn't have to be for 1 घंटा और आधा घंटा और 20 minutes. You can just do small, like 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening, and that really helps. You know, but yes, of course, you can start, learn to meditate properly, and that could really help, and it's good for you. So it's a good habit, anyways. I think what is also really important, which is impacting at the moment the mental health, is the sleep patterns and hygiene. Sleep hygiene is so important, क्योंकि हम लोग अब वैसे नहीं सोते जैसे हम पहले सोते थे. हमारे फ़ोन्स हमें नहीं सोने देते, हमारी लाइफस्टाइल हमें नहीं सोने देता, हमारी कोई शिफ्ट में काम कर रहा है, कोई 12 बजे आ रहा है, कोई ये हो रहा है. लेकिन जो बहुत इम्पैक्ट करता है मेंटल हेल्थ पे वो है स्लीप. आप कब सोते हो, कितने बजे सोते हो, कितने बजे उठते हो, वो बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है. तो वहाँ से स्टार्ट करो, अपना स्लीप हाइजीन बेटर करो. सबसे पहले वो करो, थोड़ा प्राणायाम करो, healthy खाओ. Junk food creates more anxiety, more depression in you. It's a circle, it's a vicious circle. So you eat clean, eat healthy, go for walks, don't sit, don't become stagnant. कि घर अगर sad हो तो घर में ही बैठे हो. Push yourself to go for a walk. The other thing that is very important to remember is कि lack of routine causes mental, हमारे में कहते हैं कि खाली दिमाग शैतान का घर. कीप योर सेल्फ बिजी, हैव अ रूटीन, कॉन्स्टेंट रूटीन. मतलब कुछ ना कुछ, ये ना हो कि तुम अब कुछ नहीं है करने को तो हम बैठे हुए हैं और हम बाहर ही नहीं जा रहे हैं, हम मिल ही नहीं. हैव अ रूटीन इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट.
आई थिंक 1-2 चीज़ें मेरे ख्याल से और भी हम ऐड जैसे कर सकते हैं, मतलब इसमें जैसे स्मोकिंग या अल्कोहल, अवॉइड दैट व्हेन यू आर गोइंग थ्रू.
अल्कोहल इज़ अ डिप्रेसेंट. So binge drinking is so fatal, of course, and when I say fatal in terms of mental health, it's so of course alcohol, avoid alcohol when you are depressed, especially when you are depressed. Because आपको लगता है कि क्योंकि लोग उसको ऐसे ट्रीट करते हैं, अल्कोहल को उसको एज अ रेमेडी ट्रीट करते हैं कि हम अगर ये पी लेंगे तो हम लोग इट्स एन एस्केपिज्म बेसिकली. इट्स नॉट एन एस्केपिज्म, बिकॉज क्या होता है नेक्स्ट डे वो तुम्हारी बॉडी में clinical depression डालती है. You're clinically depressed now.
Yes.
Recreational drugs.
Yes.
All of them are, they contribute to your mental health. Smoking weed. All that.
Any substance abuse is also not good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think mild तो चलो लोगों ने try किया. I think एक और चीज़ भी है, लोग अगर अफ्रेड है कि मैं अपने किसी जानने वाले को बताऊंगा तो मे बी हाउ दैट पर्सन विल परसीव मी, वो मेरे बारे में क्या सोचेगा. बट काफ़ी सारे मेरे ख्याल से ऑनलाइन कॉन्फिडेंशियल सर्विसेज भी हैं जहाँ पे आप कांटेक्ट करके यू कैन टॉक टू देम.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So there are many services. अगेन अगर आप जाएंगे डिपेंडिंग अपॉन कि आपको क्या चाहिए, अगर आप गूगल करेंगे तो बहुत डिफरेंट तरह की सर्विसेज हैं. अगर सिवियर जैसे सिम्टम्स में सेल्फ हार्मिंग है या फिर सुसाइडल थॉट्स हैं, तो समैरिटन्स हैं आयरलैंड में. यू कैन कॉन्टैक्ट दैम. इट्स अ 24 आवर्स हेल्पलाइन. यू कैन स्पीक टू दैम. Pieta House is another counseling service where you can call them. They have a helpline. You can speak to them. You can approach any therapist and counselor, and
Yeah.
and talk to a therapist. That's confidential. That doesn't go anywhere. You can speak to your GP. I know that GP system isn't the same anymore. Earlier, GP used to be like your family member.
Yeah.
You'd go and you talk to your GP, and they know everything about you and your history and your family history. Now that's changing now in Ireland, but it still is worth to go to your, if you don't find anybody, go and talk to your GP. Tell them that this is what it's.
I think they are the first people who can actually who can also diagnose it for you.
Yeah,
Because
they can.
sometimes you are not even sure.
Exactly.
Like sometimes you may, in your head, you may be thinking that this is what the suffering or the ailment is, but it could turn out to be, something different
Something
also.
different, exactly. So GPs are always first protocol. And again, if you are really suicidal, and that's the severity of it. I'm going by the severity of the thing,
Yeah.
of course. So in the most severe symptoms, if you're really self-harming or if you have suicidal thoughts, then the best thing to do is to, and it's not the, I mean, it's after the service time, like after the working times and all, and you don't have your GP, so you can go to any A&E. You just walk into any A&E of a hospital, and just tell them that this is how you feel, and they'll treat you.
To be honest, I didn't even know about
Yeah.
it, that you can actually go to A&E as well.
Any A&E.
Okay.
Of this
So if
country.
anybody is looking, if they're coming or if they're going through the self-harm thoughts or suicidal thoughts, and if it's after office hours, you
After office hours.
definitely recommend them to go to A&E. Yeah.
Absolutely, that's where you'd be taken care of.
Yeah. अच्छा, लोगों ने ये सब कर लिया, मतलब लोगों ने बोला कि चलो ठीक है, मैं मेडिटेशन भी करता हूँ, ये सब भी छोड़ देता हूँ, बट कई बार क्या होता है कि चीज़ें ठीक नहीं हो रही होती फिर भी. आप तो साइकेट्रिस्ट नहीं हो, मतलब, बट मेरे ख्याल से देन डू यू रेफर द पर्सन टू साइकेट्रिस्ट, और when do you know that, look, I think the therapy is working and it could also be working side by side, but the medication is something that can be roped in as well.
Yeah. So I feel that it has a place. Medication has a place. Not all the time, but in some cases it is. I do work with my patients and clients who are on medication. It's when the symptoms are very severe, when they don't even have the motivation to get up from the bed and come for therapy.
Yeah.
Like how do you come for therapy if you are in the bed and you're not getting up and you have no hope for life or nothing? So when you're that depressed, then to lift you up a little bit, to make you functional, where you can make a decision to say, okay, I'm feeling a little better, I need to now go for therapy, I need to speak to somebody.
Yeah.
If I have so I would definitely, and then there's a difference between mental health issues and mental illnesses, where you do need medication, schizophrenia and other mental illnesses where you do need medication, you need that support. Sometimes in bipolar, of course, you do need medication because your mood are so
Erratic,
kind of at a different spectrum,
Yeah.
that you do need medication to stabilize that mood, and then look at what is causing those mood swings and all that, because there's always a developmental issue there. Sometimes there's transitional issues that we go through and they're resolved, but the things that are not resolved mostly are very developmental. तो बचपन की कुछ चीज़ें होती हैं, या कुछ देखा होता है
Some
घर
trauma,
में,
yeah.
ट्रॉमा, खुद का एक्सपीरियंस होता है, घर में देखा होता है, जो आप पर इम्पैक्ट करता है, आपके फैमिली की सिचुएशंस होती हैं जो आप पे इम्पैक्ट करती हैं, आपकी खुद की लाइफ में कई चीज़ें होती हैं जो कि ठीक आपके कंट्रोल में ही नहीं है.
मेरे ख्याल से मैं चाहूँगा आप उन लोगों को थोड़ा स्ट्रॉन्ग मैसेज दो, क्योंकि लोगों के ना मन में काफ़ी ऐसा लोग इसको ऐसा भी परसीव करते हैं कि इट्स योर ओन मेकिंग, योर मेंटल हेल्थ प्रॉब्लम्स आर योर ओन मेकिंग, और दिस इज़ हाउ यू परसीव योर सेल्फ, देयर इज़ नथिंग लाइक दिस. सो आई थिंक उनको भी एक मैसेज हम दे सकते हैं कि दिस इज़ रियल.
Oh, it is very real. It is very real, and uh, in life, like everything else, we don't have things in our control all the time. तो हम लोग हमेशा इंटरेक्ट करते हैं. एक होता है ना कि नेचर वर्सेस नर्चर. तो जो नेचर है हमारी नेचर है जो हम कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं, बट जो आपको बैकग्राउंड मिला है, जिस आप फैमिली में पैदा हुए हैं, जिस आप नेबरहुड में पैदा हुए हैं, जिस आप इन्वायरमेंट में पैदा हुए हैं, वो आपके कंट्रोल में नहीं है और वो आपको इम्पैक्ट करेगा. You know, like for example, I said in the beginning that I work with adult survivors of child abuse. Now, that happened to them. Something huge, some such huge violation of your own privacy has happened to you. So there's no control over that, and it has an impact on you because you've been completely violated as a person.
Yes.
You know, so as a child you might not really understand that, but as you grow older, and even children, they don't have words to say it, but they show the symptoms in different ways.
Yeah.
When you become an adult and when you get into a relationship, when you are with somebody, your sexuality then is impacted in some way or the other. It impacts your relationships. It could impact. I'm not saying all the time, but it could impact your relationships. So all these things are not in your control.
Yes.
It is not. It's not in your mind. It is a real thing.
I think abhi. I think the Ireland that we know for the last 10-20 years, it has, और मेरे ख्याल से Ireland ही नहीं, worldwide inflation, everybody is going through the inflation phase. Not only inflation, housing crisis चल रहा है, साथ में inflation भी आ गई, साथ में आपके bills has, your utilities have gone skyrocketed. तो जो students आ रहे हैं, और मैं students का ही नहीं बोलूँगा, if it's a big family of 4 people and if they want to rent a place and if they want to pay all the bills and if there's only one person working, so do you get a lot of people who are going through that stress? I know there's nothing we can do financially about it because that's completely out of our hand, but like are there cases like that where people are facing that financial burden, and what are the things that they can do to to make sure that they don't find themselves in a place where they are mentally suffering because of that?
Yeah, well, clearly, financial stress is a big stress for anybody. In any times and in any situation, it is a huge pressure on a family, on a person, because it's straightway related to your well-being, your capacity to nurture yourself in terms of food and shelter and everything. And housing crisis is huge in Ireland. So, I'm not only talking about ethnic population, I'm talking about overall. So it all is impactful, and there are things that are not in your control. But what is in your control is, again, if you feel that you can go to your therapy and talk to your therapist about these things, because, if you talk about things, some solution can come out. Maybe there's something that you are not seeing, your therapist is seeing, because it's a bird view that they're looking at.
Yeah.
And again, finance is something that really you cannot do much about. You can expand your capacity to earn in some situation, not in all situations.
Yes.
So it does impact, of course, but then again, the only way to deal with that is to see if there are any community services, resources available to you. Go to a social worker, talk to them. Government has a lot of different, services, community-based services that are available to get people out of crisis situations and all that.
Yes.
So it's really important to, again, speak to your GP. Speak to a social worker, go to a primary healthcare center and say, I need to speak to a social worker. We are going through a financial crisis. What can we do?
Yeah.
Again, asking for help.
Yeah.
Till the time you don't talk about it and you feel that, again, it's only my responsibility. It is your responsibility, but then remember that the state is there to help you as well.
Yeah. There are a lot of departments and a lot of bodies who can chip in and guide you.
Guide you,
Yes.
exactly. Something could be done about it. If as a family you're going through a huge financial crisis, there are services that can guide you in the right direction, that can take away a little bit of heaviness from your own shoulder.
अच्छा ठीक है, हमने डिप्रेशन पे तो काफ़ी बात कर ली, हमने माइल्ड पे भी करी, क्लिनिकल पे भी करी, और द स्टेप्स जो हम ले सकते हैं. आई थिंक और कौन सा एक आप एरिया देखते हो जो you've seen a good spike in that area in the last couple of years or 3-4 years, where you're seeing a lot of your clients coming with that challenge?
Again, because I work in the area and in the area of child abuse, I think people are talking about it more, which is good. You know, in any population, it's the statistics are the same in everywhere, all over the world, all across the world.
Okay.
You know, so it's not really very different. And I think it's really important that we do talk about it. It is something that, especially in India, or in South Asian population, in our culture, ethnic cultures, we don't talk about it at all. It's completely taboo.
Yeah.
It's complete no.
Yeah, I think depression is getting its awareness, but I think child abuse or being able to speak freely about it to your therapy, I think that still is finding the ground.
The ground.
Yeah.
And a lot of times anxiety and depression is a result of that. So what happens is people realize that they have depression and anxiety. They don't understand why do they have it. And the root cause is that they've experienced abuse as a child.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't only talk about sexual abuse, I also talk about emotional abuse, psychological abuse, physical abuse, all of it as a child that you experience. Really impacts you, and we don't talk about it because, again, it's that thing of whatever happens in the family stays in the family.
Yeah.
You can't go out, you can't talk about it, you need to be quiet about it.
There is a taboo.
There's a huge taboo about it, and especially about sexuality. It's such a huge taboo. Sexual things, and again, the statistics say that most often if a child is abused, most often it is somebody that you know
in the family.
Knowing the family. So now that has happened, and the person is not really encouraged to talk about that person because now you are challenging the family system.
Yeah.
Completely. So, but good thing is that I have seen a change in that.
Yeah.
In the young people, not in the older population.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Not people of my generation.
Yeah.
But younger people.
Younger people are.
Yeah.
I think if you're not speaking about the problem, then you would never find out how to find a key to that solution as well.
Exactly.
Seeing a upward spike.
COVID, post-COVID mental health.
Yeah.
That is huge. लोगों को जो उन्होंने आइसोलेशन फेस किया, जो हेल्थ एक क्राइसिस फेस किया है, जिससे द अनसर्टनिटी जो एक्सपीरियंस की है कि इससे पहले क्या था, कोविड से पहले कि हम लोग सब सोचते थे हमारी लाइफ एक सिमिलर वे से चल रही है, बट व्हाट कोविड थ्रू in our faces was that our autonomy can be challenged at any point of time. So a huge amount of anxiety around that, health anxiety and overall not having a sense of control. Can this happen again? Or things are not in my control. So people post-COVID, there's a huge amount of a spike in mental health issues. Okay. And a lot of it goes back to how we were suddenly put as a human race.
We were put under lockdown.
Under lockdown completely.
Yeah.
Which in the history of entire humankind has never happened.
Yeah, because when it happened, Spanish flu 100 years ago, I don't think they had a way of, there was no isolation or quarantine at that time. It was just...
Not like that at all. And the world was very different. But, the world is so small now, so we had to do that. Yeah. But it is so against our human nature.
Yeah.
It's so against our human nature.
Again, the steps are pretty same if you're looking to rectify it. Yeah. And I think the other big one is when people find a job, right? I think that stress I really want to talk about, and I think that's the last thing we'll discuss. Work stress. You getting a lot of stress from your employer, or something we call imposter syndrome. People are trying to be somebody who they are not at work just to prove their mettle. So what are the kind of, if you have seen any patients in that area, and what kind of challenges they bring to you, and what kind of therapies or action items that you suggest them?
Yeah, I think the first thing is it's really important to understand that you're working, and work is very important, but there is always a cut-off time.
Yeah.
That you after this you need rest,
Work-life balance.
work-life balance, completely. That this is your work time, this is your home time, this is your relaxing time, all that is really, really important. I think a lot of times we don't understand that.
Yeah.
It just goes on and on and on. And what happens as a result of it is a burnout.
Yeah.
You're totally burnt out. So, which means that you're physically exhausted, you're physically tired, you'd have illnesses, you wouldn't be able to get up, and again, all those fatigue, all extreme fatigues and all that, some medical conditions as well, or again, you'll start to have problems in your family, so many different problems because of burnout. So, how to counter that? Again, make sure that you have regular breaks, regular intervals. Make sure that you invest in your mental and physical health. Make sure that you socialize. As human beings, we are social animals.
Social animals, yeah.
It is vital for us to socialize. But when we don't do that, we don't even know how to breathe properly.
Yeah.
We don't breathe properly because we are anxious all the time. We're breathing so shallow. And that itself creates a lot of problem in us.
Yes.
So work-life balance is really important. But again, remembering burnout, just taking regular breaks.
Yes.
And knowing your limitations and capacity, is very important.
Seek
have
help
fun.
essentially again.
Have fun in your. I think what is something really big that nobody really talks about is how important fun is in your life.
Yeah.
You work and that's great, and it's important to have good work ethics, but it's also very important to have fun in your life. So do activities that make you laugh,
Yeah.
Get the child out of you, go for things that thrill you, that excite you, watch programs that make you laugh.
Yes.
That's very important.
No, I think you've raised a very good point. I think, sometime, it's just about doing things that maybe you loved at one stage and you don't do it because you think there is that age limitation. But I think you can do anything at any point of time.
You should do that.
Yeah.
You should never let your child, the child in you die.
Yeah.
Because that's what keeps us going.
Yes.
It's the fun which is so important in our lives. I'm sure that if you reflect back on your own time, that maybe there was a lack of fun in that. Life became too serious.
Yes.
That's
That's why I kind of look back and say, even though you didn't have the courage to even get up from the bed, or you didn't want to do anything, but you still have. I think the only message I can give from my experience, it doesn't matter how you feel, it doesn't matter how bad it is, even if that's 10-15 minute walk outside.
Yes.
10-15 minute even speaking to somebody who can hear you out. I think even if these two
Exactly.
top two things, I think rest you can gradually get
Build
into
on.
that routine.
build on. Yeah, absolutely.
I think काफ़ी कुछ कवर कर लिया हमने. आपने काफ़ी हेल्पफुल पॉइंटर्स दिए, और जैसे मैंने आपको बताया, मतलब this is like one of the areas, as a human race we always want to prosper and see everybody happy, but this is the reality of life, like, which nobody wants to talk about. And these are the serious things. You could have a lot of money, you could have a lot of people around you, but if you're not happy, it's all worthless.
Exactly.
So I think what you have suggested, the items, and I think taking a therapy and being able to seek help, I'm sure a lot of people who are listening today will make sure that they take that first step. Or if I can maybe take that initiative and without even asking for your acknowledgement, that if somebody is seriously seeking help, then they could also reach out to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Most they
Yes.
can, absolutely.
So any last words before we sign off?
Well, thank you for having me. I think it is a much needed discussion that needs to happen in our community in Ireland. So I think that's a great initiative. And as I said, I think my last thing would be again, to have fun in your life.
Yes.
You know,
Fun,
laugh.
fun, fun.
Yeah, well, fun, balance, but
Balance.
don't forget fun. It's so important.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
And ask for help when you need, when you think, don't hesitate to ask for help.
yes.
It's so
So the
important.
alphabet should not start with A, it should start with F. Fun.
Fun.
Thank you, Ishita, for joining us once
Thank
again.
you, Pankaj.
Thank